Welcome to Community Conversations. My name is Alida Cella. I am chair of the Wallingford Democratic Town Committee, and I'm here today with Alexa Tomassi, my friend, as well as DTC member, as well as former town council candidate, to talk about the challenge of building consensus. There's been a lot of references to infighting in the DTC, and we are here to sort of discuss that, address that, and also just talk about the DTC in general, what we're doing, where we're going, and also what the Republicans are doing and where they might be going. So thank you for joining us. Hi.
Hi.
Us to talk about were references to the infighting in the DTC, starting with the history of the DTC. The Democrats had been a force in town the similar way that the Republicans had been a force in town for many, many, many decades. 40 years ago, when the Democrats were last in power, the Democrats didn't honor the Republican nominee for town council, similar to what happened
Sounds familiar.
recently. And the Democratic Party in town really has not been a force to reckon with ever since. Just broke apart. There was infighting. There was not a lot of space for new voices. I know that time and time again, new voices trying to emerge in the Democratic Party were not supported. And in fact, were discouraged from running, or other people would primary them or run against them, and it ended up that predictably we were left in the minority. I know when Gouveia ran several times and came within votes of being mayor, that part of that was that 100% of the DTC wasn't supportive of his candidacy, and we shot ourselves in the foot more times than not, unfortunately. That's infighting, as I would define infighting. I don't know what your impression is, but I think we're way more focused.
Definitely.
Now. Tell us about your introduction to the DTC.
I joined in 2018 as like an official member, but I hadn't even known that there was a DTC until I had volunteered with Jared Liu on one of the mayoral campaigns, and he said, like, you should join the DTC, and I was like, what's that? And I had no idea there were meetings. I had no idea there was a group of other people who shared a lot of the same values. Yeah, and I mean, going back to, years before I ran or even joined the DTC, I read a book about a young person that ran for mayor in Michigan, and I was like, that sounds cool. Like, I found it very inspiring, and I thought, like, this is maybe a cool place to start. And I had emailed all the counselors at the time, and every single one of them from both sides emailed me back and were like, you're young, you should just finish college, like, don't bother with this, like, there's no place for you. And I remember feeling very defeated, but also they did not try to bring me in on either side. I mean, I don't know if I, said, I'm a Democrat, like, I have no idea if that was the conversation, but nobody tried to bring me in. Nobody talked about the different opportunities, the RTC, the DTC, whatever else, boards or commissions or anything like that, to sort of get in the pipeline, which is what you'd think, any party would sort of be hopeful for.
You got a candidate knocking on your door saying, I want to run for something. And
I just remember I just felt very defeated by it, and I basically never brought it up again and had no idea that there was even any parties, working in town on a larger scale until well after college. And, I don't know, I joined as a member in 2018 after Jared told me I should, and I was like, okay, what do I have to do? I didn't even know. And I thought, all right, I can go to a meeting. And it's just been a really great learning experience so far. I mean, we hit the ground running, this year in the middle of a pandemic, or this term, the last term. But, it seemed odd that there was no system in place to, like, usher people in who were saying, I want to do something.
2017, 2018 is when I started getting involved, too. But prior to that, for the 20 years I'd been living in Wallingford, I came to town. I was a union organizer for Yale University Local 34 when I first came to Connecticut, and I was interested in getting involved politically in town, and I was told not to bother, that the DTC was just infighting and not worth an organization to even bother trying to get involved with. So I didn't. I really didn't think much about it. And then in 2017, 2018, while I was working for Solar City, I was selling solar. I met State Rep Josh Elliott, and he encouraged me to run for something. And so I came to a DTC meeting, and that's when I met Dan Fontaine. And Dan Fontaine's campaign manager was actually my former employer, union organizer, Kathy Meyerson. And so I helped out on his campaign for 2 years and got a real insight into what was going on with the DTC, really got exposure to seeing how candidates were being run through the municipal elections, what was happening, what the dynamics were, and just sort of saw a pathway that I was like, I could really apply the union experience that I had from 20 years ago and help this organization get focused and actually possibly win.
Right.
You know, if we just harnessed all this energy in this room in the right direction, we might actually be able to get somewhere. So I was so excited to meet you and have sort of made it my mission to do leadership development of all voices across the board. There's a place for everybody in our DTC. So just to address the accusation of infighting, I mean, we have a group of 100 people coming from very diverse experiences. There's going to be some amount of healthy disagreement, but the key is that we all care about Wallingford. We all care about making sure this town is getting invested in, and that we realize that the current leadership is not going to get us there.
Yeah.
Where this is coming from, we should address the elephant in the room. Jason Zandri has made very public statements that, you know, there's a lot of infighting on the DTC, and there's definitely differing opinions on strategy. It sort of devolved because about is this decision to run 6 versus 9 candidates, and we had been looking into that since maybe the end of the last cycle, right?
November and December.
Because I wanted to hit the ground running. I wanted to start door knocking in January, right? I was ready to make endorsements.
We
and
pushed
door
you
knock.
up to like February.
We had to because the state calendar wouldn't let us endorse that early. So instead, we came up with this team concept, and we were going to. I was very into the idea of running 9 candidates because in a democracy, of course, you should have more candidates. Doesn't that make sense? And through debate and discussion and meetings and running numbers and differing opinions and all sorts of things, we came to the conclusion that 6 is better. And I think you were talking earlier about those reasons, and I really like the way you put it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never had to, for any reason, consider a 6 versus 9 situation unless I was voting, and, you know, even that is its own, you know, battle. do you use all 9 or whatever? But I thought, you know, somebody said to me, look at it a couple ways. 9 people's worth of resources and money, and also running 9 guarantee that 3 don't win. And it's a lot of mental, physical, emotional capacity that it takes out of you to run a solid, good campaign from February to November. And to sort of save someone that energy that could then be redirected to something else that they're maybe great at.
Or helping another candidate.
Right. Like, just to save 3 people from an automatic loss seems like almost the most, like, ethical way to do things. Like, when I put myself in the situation and I thought, all right, well, if I run as 9 and I'm just like basically, you know, I'm a new person, I'm guaranteed to probably be on the bottom, like if I could save myself from that, then I would. And know I could be useful in a different capacity. And then I really did think hard a lot about the dollars, like to pay for 9 things versus 6 things or names on things and that, you know, that kind of thing. It just seemed like, you know, 3 people are not going to win.
Right. 3,
you're going to be spending money on these people for 10 months nearly, you know.
Spending human
hours and dollars on, you know, a bigger group than you need, really.
Condense your resources and focus on the 6 who have a shot at winning versus 9 with 3 who are guaranteed to lose. And this is at-large voting, right? So instead of being able to run district by district, where we have 9 districts and District 1 would have 2 people running, and District 2 would have 2 people running, 1 Republican, 1 Democrat, et cetera, throughout town. Now, if you had district by district, the people in District 1 would only have to vote, knock the doors of District 1,
yeah.
of your neighbors, of your friends, of the school that you go to, of all the people you run into in your own neighborhood, and that's 5,000 doors.
Right.
You're running at large, you're knocking
It was hard.
45,000 doors.
Yeah.
It's harder to run for town councilor than it is to run for mayor, because you're running literally against, if there's 6 from each side, 12 other people, and if each side picks more candidates, now you could have up to 18 candidates. How do you distinguish yourself in a municipal election against 18 other candidates or even 12 other candidates?
And
easily?
you're supposed to cover a lot of ground, and it's like nearly impossible.
How do you build that name recognition if you're not doing
Right.
the door knocking, right? And if you're doing the door knocking, I mean, Gina was an exception to the rule, and she worked her butt off. And she lost the first time around, and she won the second time around only because
she knocked so
Larry and Gina knocked every single door in Wallingford. That's the only way you can do it.
And that's what she did with us.
Right, yes.
I mean, I learned from the best there is in the game because she took us out with her and taught us the ropes, basically.
So that's the background of the frustration of candidates running, right? So we had great candidates run who didn't feel supported by the DTC. The DTC for a long time had an attitude of candidates were on their own. You know, we're the DTC, but you're the candidate.
Right.
You want to run, great, good luck to you.
My experience just as a member my first term was that everybody was running for themselves. There was not a lot of cohesive teamwork. And, you know, I've talked to those people, and they don't say that they necessarily felt like but from the outside, it looked like they were just them doing everything. And it was a lot of work. And it's a heavy lift when you don't have a team behind you and you don't have enough people to, you know, fulfill the strategy. And I always felt really bad for them because I felt like I'm one person too. Like, what can I do for all these, you know, 6 people or whatever who are, you know, doing their own thing with their own mailers and their own magnets and their own messaging.
How do you door knock for all of them?
Yeah. So I basically decided to run because we were doing a slate. I thought I don't necessarily want to have to do it by myself. I want to be on a team because I'm happy to knock for me, but I'm also happy to knock for everyone else. And that's where we all agreed. Like,
I think that's an excellent point. I was able to recruit more candidates because of the promise that we were looking at running this as a team. That was my hope and desire, and that's what the strategy that I wanted to go with.
It's daunting to think, all right, I need my own campaign manager and my own treasurer and I got to keep track of dollars, and the thought of doing that all just me was very scary, and I didn't really want to do that. This was the best option for me.
Right. With no financial
support.
And for
others. Right. Coming in just going to fundraise my best, you know, and put it in the pot with everyone.
Right.
Which I was fine with doing.
And we did an amazing job.
We did.
We raised
killed it.
$50,000. Right. I mean, everything that happened convinces me more that we did the right thing.